Well, hello there. I know it has been a minute, but I have really good reason. I had just come back from my trip to Spain and I was catching up with my boys, and they have since moved out. So I've been a little bit busy dealing with that and processing that. And I wanted to wait until the whole thing was over and I had time to kind of process it and recover from it before I felt like doing a podcast. I don't do these podcasts because I feel like I have to. I do them because I love doing them and I love sharing, because I really feel like the more women that I talk to in midlife, I'm hearing the same thing over and over again. And I can relate to it because I'm going through it too. And this is one of the things. So that's why I feel, even though it's a very personal story, I really want to share it with you because you might be going through the same thing. And I want you to know you're not alone. And if you aren't going through it, I just want to give you a heads up of what's going through it. It's like when you're having your first baby and people don't really tell you the whole truth. I'm like, girls, why don't we give everybody all the details? And of course, we don't want to scare the crap out of those pregnant ladies out there, but we all know that we're not we're not being open and honest with everything that's going on, because a lot of the times we think, oh, it's just me and I don't want to, you know, be crazy. I don't want to talk about my problems because they're my problems. But I feel like the more we talk about things, the easier it is. The more we normalize it, the easier it is. And here's a good example of not talking about things, like especially in midlife. I really feel excited because nowadays, with the health movement that's going on, we're talking about more things. But I'm laughing because when I look at the Maha Make America Healthy Again movement, I love it because I follow all those people. Those people are all my mentors. Like the food babe, I've been following her for 15 years. Like she all of a sudden is like in the spotlight, and she deserves it because she has been working her ass off to share this information. But for the past 15 years, nobody's been listening, and now all of a sudden they're listening. But I feel it's great because she really knows her stuff now. Like maybe she, her journey was this so that she really was an expert by the time it came to her. Everybody was looking at her for answers. So the story that I wanted to tell when I'm talking about, us not sharing all the details, like of being in midlife, I remember back to when I had my first child, and the doctor's telling you all the things. You're getting ready to go home and with this new human being, and you have no idea what to do, and you're freaked out and you're hormonal and you're exhausted and you're excited, all the things. And she just hands you this squirt bottle, right? I know you know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, what is this for? And she tells me what it's for. Okay, when you go to the bathroom, this is how you're going to clean yourself. And I said, okay, I had no idea. But it made sense, especially after having just given birth. I'm like, I get it. But I said, doctor, how long should I use this for? And I remember her saying, oh, until you forget to use it. I'm like, what? Like, she's like, you'll know. You'll just know. I can't even tell you. Just as soon as you forget to use it, that's when you stop using it. I'm like, what kind of answer is that? That's really strange and obscure. And then, but it was 100% accurate. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I was cleaning out my cupboards and I found this squirt bottle. And, my little baby, my first baby, Phoenix, is almost 22 years old. And so it made me laugh when I saw that, because that's just some of the things that nobody ever tells you about. Am I right? Like, flashing back to that as I'm talking about my kids moving out, it's like, damn, that happened fast. I blinked and missed it. Like, and I was even there for everything. I was fully present as much as humanly possible. And it still went by really, really quickly. And when it comes to this phase, and I feel like I'm always saying, this is the hardest phase ever. And I think I'm right only because I'm in it. So for me, this is the hardest phase. Like, babies were tough, like tough, tough, tough. I loved toddlers, and once they had their personalities and all that, I found babies to be really hard, like so hard, because nothing happens unless you do it. Like they just rely on you 1,000% for life, for everything. But every time I go through a different stage, I'm like, this is the hardest stage ever. And it's just because it's the stage that I'm going through. So that's why I talk about it. And that's why I do what I do, because I feel like the more we talk about it, then the easier it is to normalize it and to help people through it and to find solutions. And if you don't even have a solution, at least you know you're standing in solidarity. You're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. That's the beautiful part. That's the part that really makes me come here and do these podcasts, is if I can help one person to think, oh, it's not just me, then it's a success for me. It truly, truly is. So I want to talk about my kids moving out. I definitely needed time to really process it because, whew, toughest thing ever, toughest thing I've gone through as a mother. But it's amazing because it's a double-sided sword, a two-edged sword, because there's definitely a couple of components to it. There was the lead up to them leaving, which was, me in mom mode, just like trying to think of all the things to help them out. And they're like, they got it, right? They know what they're doing, but they're still little babies. They're still young and they're still my babies. So, I want to help them out as much as possible, of course, right? I just got to make a note because I just remember something that I want to talk about. Yeah, because it's so good. So it's me trying hard not to mom, but to help as much as possible so that they can be as successful as possible, because I want them to be independent. I really feel like over the past couple of years, I've spent a lot of time and energy getting them to do things so that they can learn how to do all the things for themselves, like traveling, flights, renting play, like all the things. But of course, there's things that they're not going to know because they've never done it before. So I want them to be totally independent, because remember, I always say that it's our job to make ourselves obsolete, pretty much, not in a bad way, but that they're independent, and then they come to us because they want to come to us, or if they need extra help, they know that we always have their back. That's always been my job. So I feel like I want them to go and be free. Really, really do. But that doesn't mean it doesn't break your heart at the same time. So the lead up to it was tough because it's just like, when is it felt like this day was never coming, because I just felt like I was always like, what more can I do? How can I help? And then the day came, and it was a tough, tough day. But I'm going to be honest, I am an adventurer. I am a traveler. I'm like a global citizen at heart. And I haven't traveled when my kids were younger, and I just started traveling again last year. So I love that they're going and discovering and being free. I love this. So I'm more excited than they are, only because I know what's about to come for them because I've traveled. And my excitement is just over the top. And I think my excitement outweighs the sadness that I have for them not being around all the time, because we're so close, so tight. And like, we all have our own businesses and we work in the house and we get together and bounce ideas off each other and celebrate our victories and support each other. And it's just like so unique and just so fabulous. I just couldn't ask for more. I just love, love, love this. But I know it's time for my little birdies to fly. And I'm so excited for them, which is making me feel good about this. But then the day comes for them to go. And, okay, this is the hard part, because I'm feeling excited, but it's an early morning flight, which is fabulous because then you don't have time to think, right? For it to really sink in. And as you pull up to the airport in the pitch dark at, 5 a.m, and you're still not really coherent about what's going on. And then all of a sudden, you slam the trunk door and you walk over and you see them with their backpacks and their suitcases. and you're there at the airport entrance, and they're going to be walking through those doors, and you don't know when you're going to see them again. And I get sad thinking about it right now because it's a moment that was just, will be etched in my heart forever. And I just broke down. Oh my gosh. The crying. I'm not a crier. I was never a crier. And then I had kids, and then, Hallmark commercials, like you just cry over everything. And oh my gosh, it was like, I just felt my heart break open all over again. And it's not in a bad way. It's like just the sadness of going from what is or what was to just something new without them, right? So I'm excited for them, and I'm sad for an end of a chapter. It's not the end, it's just the end of this chapter. That's all it is. And oh man, that was like, I wasn't expecting that. It was a heart wrenching. And so I just remember at one point too, because my kids are so tall, we're doing a family hug, and I'm crying and crying, and they're like, I just remember Phoenix just kissing me on the forehead, and it was like, oh my God, it was like a full circle moment, because that's what, of course, I used to do to them when they were sad, right? Hug and kiss them on the forehead and just tell them it's going to be okay, and just hold space for them. And of course, they were sad too. And then I remember watching them walk through the airport doors, and then just closing behind them, and just like whoosh, my heart just broke open again. And I remember when, like, the biggest time that happened was in Costa Rica after they had visited me and then they left. It was like heart wrenching. And then I'm driving out of the airport, and like tears are just streaming down my face. And I was just like allowing myself to cry out loud, like a cry that I'd never even heard before. It was ridiculous. And it felt so good just to let it out. And I also remember coming home and being like, I'm home, and just like talking out loud for the first 2 or 3 days. I would talk out loud when I'd come in the door, just because it felt less lonely or sad or empty, because somebody was always home. So I had that little habit, and I just, the first day that they were gone, I remember just talking out loud all the time, and I'd feel so sad, and I would just talk out loud, and then I'd feel better. And every time I talked out loud, it just made life better. So, but then something really miraculous happened after a couple of days. Oh, of cleaning my house. Like, don't even tell me that when your kids leave, the very first thing you do is like make your house spotless. Am I right? Yes. It took me days. But maybe on the second or third morning when I woke up and my house was still spotless, I was like, I like this. And there was a shift for me, a shift from that sadness, and still holding on to that excitement for them, into like this new found sense of freedom for me. Because we all know that, like, this is the other side of it, right? Like, first of all, it's like, I'm free to do what I want. Like, I can do whatever I want, and I don't have to think about them before I do anything or take that into consideration. And also, I don't have to worry about them because they're not in front of my face. Like, if I wasn't here, they would have planned all of that. Like when I was in Costa Rica, they did all the stuff and came and visited me, and it worked out. So I know they can do it. But for some reason only known to us mothers, because I know that you can relate to this, that if they're in front of my face, I feel like I still have to mom them. And it's always like there's a voice in my head and another voice saying, don't say that, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And then I have to say it. I just have to say it because I can't resist myself. So I feel like now that they're not living in the same house as me, that there's this sense of relief that I don't have to mom them unconsciously or stop myself from momming or have this urge. Because I was walking with my friend Tia, and I'm telling her about this, and she's like, yes, because she has kids that have left too. And it's like, when they come over, like, don't say anything. And it's not that we don't think that they can do it. It's just we always have their best interest at heart, and we've always done that. Like from them growing up, we've always had to tell them and teach them and all that. And so for us to like let that go is so hard. So sometimes it can be hard when you are living with teenagers, or like not teenagers anymore, but young adults that you have encouraged and taught to be independent and cook your own food and clean up after yourself, when they don't clean up the way you clean up. Like, so when I like, don't even get me started on that. Love my kids, but if like, I just know, I don't even have to say more because you just know. I know you know. That's one of those things. I know you know what I'm talking about. And so when I wake up in the morning and my house is still really clean, it just feels like, wow, wow. And it just has opened up all of these possibilities for me. So there's such a newfound feeling of freedom. And as I say this, like I feel this need to justify, like, but I you know, I love them. Of course, we know we love our kids. So I don't want to feel guilty about feeling free. Yes, I miss them. Of course I do. But the good thing is I get to talk to them anytime I want. We could video chat anytime I want. But I don't have to mom them, and I can go do what I want, and I can have a clean house when I want. And if I want to mess it up, that I can mess it up. Or if I want it to be spotless, I can make it spotless. And it's funny how when I say this out loud, I'm like, I'm going to have to justify this. No, I have this freedom, and it's not, you don't have to feel bad about it. It's so exciting. But it's like this newfound superpower that I have. And I'm like, I have to use my powers for good, or use this wisely. Like, what am I going to do with all of this momming that I have, that I get to put onto myself now and go follow my dreams and do all the things? It's just so liberating. And so that's why it's like this and that. It's like all the feels, but I'm super excited for them, but I'm also excited for myself. Like there does come a time when, you know, it is that separation. When you look at nature, because you know I always take my cues from nature. All the animal kingdom, they have that, right? In their own ways that work for them. Like some mothers, like their birds, their babies are just like zoom, that's it, they're on their own. And then other ones never leave, and then other ones, you know, after a year or two, like it's just, this is the way it's meant to be. So it's like sometimes it, you know, if you're not following those cues of nature, god, it can get tough. Right? Like, so it's interesting that as I say this, I felt like I needed to justify it, but I don't, because it's just, I just love my kids more than life itself. And this is just such like a newfound friend. But for them as well, like I know that they have that sense of, like, they love me to death, but they have this sense of like, I got to get out of here. And it's not, I don't take it personally when they say that. It's like, yeah, I get you. I understand you. And so when we can really support each other and hold space for each other, it's just so liberating. And I do want to say, like, when I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast about how it just happened in a blink of an eye. Like I spent, you know, some time putting together a video for them, just like of pictures of them growing up. And man, it was a long video because I just have so many pictures, and that was like also heart-wrenching in the best way possible. Like they felt it. I felt it. It was like, wow. I just wanted them to leave with a reminder of like all the magical things we've done together, all the memories we've made, all the life we've lived together, the good, the bad, the magical moments, the Christmases, the Easters, like all of the things. And it was just so like, wow, so amazing to look back on it. And it just we had all the feels. It was the most amazing thing, but it literally felt like, just like yesterday, they were these teeny little kids that you'd pick up and put on your hip, and they'd go everywhere with you. And it was like, wow, that was such a magical moment. And even when I was doing it, I had to put all the pictures in. It was so hard to not put pictures in because they just meant every little picture was a memory for us. Even if they couldn't remember it, it was like they would look back and go, wow, we did that. Oh, that was so much fun. I remember that. And the best part was them watching that and just say, my oldest was like, "Oh, mom, now I see why you took all those pictures and why you took all those videos." Because I would always be like, "Okay, I know it's a pain in the butt now, but one day you're really going to appreciate this picture." And Phoenix had had that moment of just like, wow, like thank you for taking all, like capturing all these moments, because they don't remember those, or they might need a little like reminder of some of those, like all the fabulous life that we've lived together so far. And it's funny because when you think about it, that part of my life is like the biggest chunk of my life. It'll be the biggest chunk that I remember. The most important part of my life is that time that I spent with them, that 21 years, 22 years of them, of us together. But for them, that's just the beginning of their life, and they're not going to remember a lot of it because they were so small. That's how powerful these memories are. And for them to be able to just see that in just like a nice little, like, wow, wow, oh my gosh. And so I wanted to leave you with that because that moment was absolutely magical. Like, that, just watching that video with them together and then having that moment after, and the discussions that went on for hours and hours, just like that, I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. And I wish that moment for each and every one of you as you have already gone through this or as you're preparing to go through this, because I feel like it was really, really hard, but it was just one of the most fabulous things about motherhood is putting an end to that chapter and then starting a new one for everybody. For everybody. Like, what is next? And I'm so excited for what is next for them, but also for myself. And I can't wait to share it with you. So, anyway, I am back and I've done all my processing through that. I'm going to have moments. Of course I'm going to have moments, and I'm okay with that because I really, when you feel that deeply, I feel so grateful because that means that you like are loving so deeply, and I feel so grateful to have had the experience to love this deeply in my lifetime. Like, wow. And that kind of deep love is going to come with like deep heartache as well. But that's like the yin and the yang, the sweet and the sour. Like, that is just like that is like, man, so grateful to have it. It's an honor to be able to have that. So, as always, my friends, thank you for listening. Always, always, always love yourself first, especially in midlife when the magic is just getting started. And have an amazing day.